Is not gentle. It doesn't ask permission. It enters and everything hidden is forced to exist in its presence. This is the story of the God who did not comfort the world, but revealed it. He was born into brilliance, but not into warmth. The moment his eyes opened, clarity entered, existence like a blade cutting through mist. There was no uncertainty in him, no hesitation, no soft ambiguity. Where others embodied passion, war, desire, or chaos, he embodied something far more unsettling: awareness. He was not merely a bringer of light. He was light when it refused to die. From the beginning, his presence carried a quiet inevitability. The air around him seemed sharpened. Silence behaved differently. Even the wind appeared to move with intention. Those who beheld him felt something that they could not easily name. Not fear, not awe, but recognition, as if something long hidden inside them had been illuminated. He did not conquer the world with force. He clarified it, and in doing so, he began a transformation neither gods or mortals fully understood. The world before him had shadows that lingered comfortably. Mystery was a place of refuge. Ignorance allowed gentleness. But when he arrived, uncertainty began to dissolve. Shapes became divine, causes revealed consequences. The unknown began to speak. And truth, once spoken, cannot be returned to silence. He didn't seek darkness because he hated it. He confronted it because obscurity suffocates understanding. The ancient serpent that coiled beneath sacred ground was not simply a creature. It was confusion given form. It represented fear of what cannot be explained, the terror of a world that cannot be interpreted. He approached not with rage, but with inevitability. There was a huge difference between violence and resolution. Violence seeks victory, but resolution seeks clarity. His arrows did not merely pierce flesh, they ended ambiguity. With each strike, something became defined. With each movement, uncertainty lost territory. When the serpent fell, it was not only a monster that perished, a boundary was crossed. From that moment forward, the world could no longer remain comfortably obscure. A voice emerged, a place where reality would speak through human lips, yet not belong to human will. People came seeking answers. Kings, warriors, wanderers, mothers, rulers of cities, builders of empires. They approached with hope that knowledge would grant control. They believed to know the future was to shape it. But truth does not exist to serve desire. It exists to exit. The worlds delivered through sacred breath did not soothe. They reveal, and revelation rarely aligns with expectation. Those who came seeking certainty often left with responsibility. Those who desired assurance received warning. Those who demanded control encountered limitation. He didn't punish them. He simply allowed reality to remain visible. To see clearly is a burden rarely requested knowingly. Vision strips comfort from illusion. It reveals consequence before action, fragility within strength, impermanence within beauty. To understand fully is to recognize that nothing escapes transformation. And he embodied that recognition. Music flowed from him not as entertainment, but as structure made audible. Harmony was not emotion, it was order. Each note carried preparation, balance, inevitability. To hear his music was to experience the universe, not as chaos, but as a pattern. Healing also emerged from his knowledge. He did not remove suffering arbitrarily. He understood balance, and restoration followed understanding. The body, like the cosmos, operates through relationships. To heal is to perceive those relationships accurately. Yet even in healing, there was no illusion. Restoration does not erase fragility. It rather reshapes it more clearly. Mortals loved him and feared him for the same reason. He did not deceive, he didn't soften, and he didn't conceal the consequences of existence. And yet, he was not without longing. There's a strange paradox within clarity. To see everything precisely is to recognize what cannot be possessed. Desire depends on uncertainty. Love flourishes in spaces where outcome is unknown. But what happens when perception leaves no room for illusion? He reached toward beauty and discovered its autonomy. He pursued connection and encountered transformation. The more he illuminated, the less he could hold. There was a moment where he pursued by presence, defined by movement and freedom. But she did not reject him out of hatred, but out of necessity. To be seen completely is to risk losing the self that remains fluid and underlying. So she chose change over capture, transformation over union. He didn't rage against this loss. He understood it. Light reveals, but it cannot bind. Among all his encounters with humanity, one relationship stands as a quiet tragedy of perception. A mortal was granted sight beyond ordinary limits, the capacity to perceive unfolding reality before it manifested. She could see consequence before action, collapse before impact, ruin before decision. Yet, perception does not compel belief, and vision does not create acceptance. She spoke what she saw, and she warned of what approached. She described inevitabilities others refused to acknowledge, and she was dismissed. Her suffering was not in seeing disaster, it was in witnessing refusal. Truth does not lose validity when denied. It simply becomes loneliness. This was not cruelty for its own sake. It was the pure expression of a law deeper than emotion. Awareness cannot force recognition. Reality may be revealed, but acknowledgement remains a choice. He didn't lie, but he also did not compel belief. The distinction is very much profound. To deceive is to alter reality. To reveal is to allow response. And he chose revelation. Even among immortals, his presence carried a particular gravity. Others embodied force, passion, storm, fertility, war, and desire. But he embodied structure. The principle that existence is intelligible, that events follow patterns, that consequences arise from causes. He wasn't loved for comfort. He was revered for accuracy. And accuracy can feel merciless when one hopes for mercy from truth itself. And he never promised safety. He offered vision. He never guaranteed the happiness, but he provided clarity. He never shielded existence from consequence. He revealed consequence before it even arrived, prophecy. But it is easy to admire light when it warms, but it is harder to accept when it exposes. And yet, humanity has never ceased seeking illumination. Every question asked, every theory formed, every discovery pursued carries the same impulse that once drove pilgrims to sacred ground, the desire to know what is real. Knowledge liberates and destabilizes simultaneously. To understand is to relinquish comforting ignorance. To perceive fully is to inherit responsibility. To see clearly is to recognize both possibility and limit. And he stands within that tension. He is present whenever illusion dissolves, whenever certainty fractures, whenever a person confronts something undeniable within themselves, whenever a truth emerges that cannot be reshaped through preference. He isn't a figure confined to distant myths. He is a principle embedded in consciousness itself. The insistency that reality exists independently or from desire. For light continues to move through the world not as kindness, but as revelation. It illuminates injustice and beauty, fragility and resilience, order and decay. It does not choose what to reveal. It reveals what is. And that is why his story endures. Because humanity continues to ask a question that has no gentle answer. Do we truly wish to see? There is a quiet moment that comes to every life. A moment when illusion weakens, where certainty cracks. When something once avoided becomes something undeniable. And that moment, one stands as a threshold between comfort and clarity. To step toward clarity is to accept transformation. To step away is to preserve illusion temporarily. He does not plead, he doesn't threaten, but rather he simply illuminates the path. Some call this cruelty, others call it truth, and perhaps it is both, the cruel truth, depending on what hoped to be keeping hidden. His light does not promise peace, it promises awareness, and awareness alters everything it touches. To live within illumination is to understand that existence is not arranged for comfort. It is structured through relationships that persist, whether acknowledged or ignored, because precedes effects, and action carries consequence, and perception invites responsibility. He remains not as a distant deity, but as an ever-present possibility, the presence of uncompromising clarity within a world that often prefers shadow. And so, the question continues to echo across centuries, unchanged and unavoidable. If nothing was concealed, if every motive was visible, if every outcome was known and seen, if every illusion dissolved, would we step into the light, or would we close our eyes? If this story stirred something in you, there are many more myths waiting. Tell me in the comments which myth you want next, and until the next tale, stay curious.